Hi, I'm Maestro Mike, and welcome to another edition of Moments with the Maestro. Today we're talking about Christmas music, and specifically classical Christmas music. One of the most popular forms of classical music for Christmas is something called the Christmas Concerto, and this was a form that was popularized during the Baroque era, and by that I mean late 1600s up through the mid 1700s. Probably the most famous Christmas concerto was written by the Italian composer Arcangelo Corelli, and Corelli popularized this form during the Baroque time. And you might be asking yourself, well, what kind of a concerto is a Christmas concerto and why is it Christmassy? What makes it themed to Christmas? Well, for starters, Corelli actually inscribed this piece "Made for the Night of Christmas" as the subtitle right under the title. So we know that. But specifically, the first thing you want to know is that it's a specific type of concerto that was popular in the Baroque era known as a concerto grosso. Well, what is a concerto grosso? Grosso, the word in this case means big. So it just means that unlike a modern concerto where you would typically have one soloist playing an enormously difficult part against the orchestra, a concerto grosso is a little simpler, but it has more than one soloist. The big referring to not one, not two, but three soloists. In this case, two violins and a cello that function as a little solo trio known as the concertino. And they play with and against and interplay with the tutti orchestra, which is called the ripieno. So Corelli didn't invent this form, but he was the first one to popularize it and pretty much perfect it. He wrote many concerto grossos, but there's only one that's called the Christmas Concerto. So then the second question is, what makes this theme to Christmas? And I can sum that up in one word: pastorale. There's a specific movement that's tied to this, and it has to do with an old Italian custom at this time, where the shepherds would come down from the hills into the city at Christmas time and go to a nativity scene and play their instruments there to mimic the original shepherds which came to Bethlehem to worship the baby Jesus. So everyone in Italy at that time would have understood this reference to the music of the shepherds, and that's essentially what a pastoral is, the word pastor referring to shepherd. And in fact, the shepherds were known to play a couple of different kind of wind instruments so they could, pass the time in the fields while they were watching over their flocks. And those were the piva, which is a double reed instrument similar to a modern oboe, and a zamponia, which is a specific type of bagpipes. And if you know anything about bagpipes, you know that they have a bag, right? And the bag plays a drone. And by drone, I simply mean a long sustained tone of the same note, that goes on underneath the melody. So the first feature of a pastoral movement is that it has a drone bass through much of the piece, where the lower string instruments are imitating the bag of the bagpipes. Secondly, the melody will be typically harmonized in what we call thirds, meaning there's a melody and a part above it, and they shadow each other in a very pleasant harmony of thirds. And the third thing has to do with a specific type of rhythm that was used in the pastoral, and that is the Siciliano, and does come from Sicily. It basically is a lilting or rocking rhythm of long, short, da, da, dee, da, da, almost as if you were rocking a baby to sleep singing a lullaby. So when you combine these three elements of a melody and thirds, the pastoral Siciliano rhythm over a drone bass, you get what is known as a pastoral movement. And as I said, the Italians would have known at this time exactly what that meant, and that is the specific thing that makes the piece themed to Christmas. Now, a normal concerto grosso had four movements in the pattern of slow, fast, slow, fast. And what Corelli does in this particular concerto, because he wrote many others, but this is the Christmas one, he tacks on two connected movements at the end. Another fast movement that segues directly into that wonderful, beautiful pastoral movement. So when you listen to the piece, listen for, first of all, the little trio of three soloists, and they are able to interplay with each other, play together, and then they sort of interact with the orchestra, sometimes contrasting, sometimes imitating, and the two groups give the composer a lot of ways to interact. And then secondly, listen for the last movement of the pastoral with its drone bass, Siciliano rhythm, and lovely melody in thirds. Thank you for listening. We hope you enjoy the piece, and I'll see you at the Symphony.